Okay, everyone, so we finished our eye, we finished our nose. Now it's time to move on to the mouth. We'll use those same materials, your HB and 4B pencils, tortillon, and eraser. Again, I'm going to be following along with these 3 steps here for drawing a mouth. This handout is located again in the Drawing Bootcamp module under exercise 7, eye, nose, mouth drawing, in case you want this handout for yourself as well. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to move this for myself. The first thing we're going to do is draw that contour line that we start with, just like in our other drawings. You might think that when you draw a mouth, you draw the outside lips first, but you actually don't want to do that. You want to start with the interior line of the mouth. So the first thing we're going to do is draw that line. That interior line of the mouth tends to start up slightly, go down, maybe up a little, down, up, down, up. It's a super slight sort of curve to the line, but again, most of us, when we close our lips, our lines of our mouth don't go straight across. They have a little bit of a curve to them. And then we're going to draw the upper lip. You might be tempted to start right at the end of that line, but I'm going to ask you to move in just slightly. We're going to do a nice slow curve up, down for that dip in the middle of the mouth, and then slowly curving down to the other end, again, leaving just a little bit of that line going across, something like that. And then same with the bottom, starting in just a little. Again, everybody's mouth is a little different. Some people have very full lips. Some people have a little bit thinner lips. So you'll want to look closely at your model or your photograph as you're working. But we're just going from a general guide today. So a really generalized view of a mouth. The next thing we're going to draw is this little indentation above our lips. That's below our nose, so that kind of goes like this. Almost like a C in a backward C shape, and then those 2 little interior lines. And then I'm going to draw just some really light contour lines to kind of slightly rounded, give that impression that there's some rounding of these lips. Really, really light. That's it. That's our contour drawing for our mouth. Now let's add in some value. I'm going to use my 4B pencil now. I'm going to darken up that interior line. So if I like the way that line looks, I'm going to darken it up just a little. That might mean you make it slightly thicker, but we don't want it too thick. Darken that up just a little. And then I'm going to do a little bit of shading. Again, I'm barely pressing down with my pencil right now just to add a little bit of graphite to that upper lip. One important point to note when you shade in lips, the upper lip is almost always darker than the lower lip, because in most people, the upper lip is closer into the face. The lower lip is more full, has more flesh, it tends to catch more light. In our photograph, the lower lip has a little bit of a shadow on this side, so I'm going to also add just a little bit of graphite over here. You also might shade up and down. Again, when you shade, keep that curved line happening to give that impression that this is a rounded lip. So a little bit of graphite there, a little bit of graphite up on top. Not too much. Now we're going to use our tortillon, and we're going to start shading. Again, the left side of this mouth is a little bit darker. So I'm going to shade in those small circles, a little bit darker on the left side. I might lose some of those contour lines I did earlier, but that's okay. We can always come back and add those in. The right side I'm going to leave just a little bit lighter. We want our lines to be nice and crisp, don't get too smudgy. Also, notice how I don't have a harsh outline on my mouth. We don't want to outline our lips heavily in black. It's not a good look. So we want it to be just a shift in value from the white of the paper to gray without an outline there. I'm going to soften up that middle line just a little bit. You can also make it slightly darker. And then I'm going to shade on that bottom. And again, I'm going to shade in those rounded lines. to again give more that illusion that this is a curved lip. Again, the right side of the lip is a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna leave this side. There's a little bit of shadow in here, a little bit of shadow in the corners. But again, I'm gonna let this edge here kind of fade out into the lip. I don't want a harsh outline. Keep that rounded line. There we are. So we have our lips shaded in now. Now, one of the most important steps with lips is actually this space underneath, because if you put your hands on your own lips right now and then feel underneath your lip, you'll feel an indentation right here, right above your chin. That is where a lot of light gets caught. So I'm actually going to take my 4B pencil and I'm going to put some graphite down, again, parallel to the paper, barely pressing down right now. And we have to put that shadow in there to make this come forward in space. To make this lip move forward, we need to push this value a little bit darker to make this go back in space. So I have a little bit of graphite down, do my small circles, and I'm gonna leave just a really light highlight right here on the bottom. Again, if you touch your lower lip right now, you'll feel a ridge right here on your bottom lip that catches the light. We want to leave that there. So I'm going to leave just a little bit of highlight there, and I'm again small circles to blend this graphite. Let your edges kind of fade out. Again, notice how I'm not shading like this. No, no, no. We do small circles to help get these nice, even values happening. I'm going to do a little bit of shading just at the corner of this mouth also. And just a little bit here too. We're getting there. Next thing I'm going to do is at the very top. I'm actually not going to put any graphite on right now. I'm just going to use the graphite that's already on my tortillon. So I'm going to shade that interior edge that we have, that little indent above all of our mouths. And then I'm going to shade just a little bit over here. Again, we don't want any harsh outlines. And our light's coming from this direction, so I'm not going to put too much shadow on this side, just a little. And same over here. This side I'm going to push a little bit harder and push those values a little bit darker on this side. Do you see how when I push these values dark, light, dark, light, dark, these light areas now are moving forward. They're coming out in space. Also notice how I don't have any harsh outlines on there. You don't see any lines. It's just a shift in value. So we are close to done with this mouth. The last thing we need to do, just like with the nose, is we're going to punch up these dark values a little bit. Pushing those dark values is what really makes these drawings look more realistic. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to darken up and add some value down in here, underneath the lips. Again, holding my pencil nice and flat. I'm going to darken up this line just a little bit more. This line is usually the darkest part of our lips. And I want to punch up this shadow over here just a little bit. So I'm actually going to shade, again, those curved lines. Push this a little darker on this side too. Again, on this picture, the left side of the lip is a little bit darker, so we want to keep this side light, this side dark. And I'm going to punch up this value just a little bit more too. Notice I'm just putting a slight amount of value down as I do this, because I know I have my tortillon coming, and that's going to darken everything up as well when we shade it and blend it. So I've added a little bit more value. As always, let's start blending. Small circles. If you ever find things are getting a little bit too dark, like for example, this is looking a little sloppy over here, I can use my eraser hold it from the edge, use that sort of long edge there, and just really gently pull some of those values out. Do you see how I'm using my eraser almost as a blending tool right now? I can go back with my tortillon again. And again, small circles, just blending those dark values, making them a little bit stronger. So when I blend, especially in the lip, I'm going to do that up and down, rounded motion to keep that contour line. I could go in here even and do a little bit more shadow work to show some of the contour of lips. As we all know, we have some like little ridges and kind of those like cracks in our lips sometimes. That gives our lips a little bit more texture. And the same in here, I'm going to darken this side of the shadow up just a little bit. Darken this side up as well. Make sure that that fading is nice and even. Notice how I'm leaving a little light edge right above here. Just like you have that highlight on the lower lip ridge, you have the same thing over here too. So we don't want to get too close to the actual lip as we're shading. If you lose that, you can always go back in with your eraser and pull that highlight back out again if needed. The very last thing you might want to do is, again, go back. Maybe you want to pull a little bit stronger contour lines in there. Another fun thing to do is you can use that small eraser and even erase out a little bit. Erase out some of the highlighted areas to give your lip just a little bit more texture. There we have it. So when you are done, you'll have a lip or a mouth on your sketchbook page, you'll have a nose, and you'll have an eye. Once you have those three done, you are done with this assignment. If you feel like you want a little extra challenge, I'm going to show you how to draw an ear as well. Feel free to do that on another piece of paper or somewhere else on this page if you like.